could you go ahead and introduce yourself with your name and ethnicity, please?
My name is Bryan Gonzalez. I'm Mexican. Uh, I would say I define trauma as, an experience that a person goes through that damages them, whether it be like emotionally, psychologically. Obviously, there's like physical trauma, that sort of thing. So all that's kind of entailed in the general umbrella. I would say my family tends to define it the same way. In conversations that I've had with them, I wouldn't say they define it any different. So yeah, it's like you can't use the words to define it, but like traumatic experience, but like anything that damages you, like psychologically, emotionally.
Does trauma always need to be like a big event, or could it be even like small, like, I don't know, like daily things or small interactions or something like that?
Uh, I think small little events can contribute to a person's trauma. Like, for example, if there's somebody who's like being bullied at school, it's like, oh, someone like makes fun of them, and it's like a little jab like, every single day. Like, it's not a big event per se, but like it's still affecting them like how they think about themselves. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's like exclusive only to a big event.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of. I would say it's hard to answer that question because based off like my family's like relations with each other, how we've grown up, I would say that everybody's very like emotionally unavailable. And so when it comes to even like talking about the topic, it's not really something that happens. And so, I mean, I guess I talked about it a few times with my brother, and we had like good conversations about that, but it's not something that we go out of our way to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's changed over time for sure. Because, like, going back to what I said, my family members being very emotionally unavailable with each other, I feel like that kind of led me to be like very independent when it comes to just how I carry myself, how I live my life, um, what I talk about myself with other people. I feel like coming to UCLA, like being by myself, kind of having to force myself to put myself out there, that sort of thing. That kind of made it easier in a way to like talk to people about like, well, this is who I am, this is what I like, this is maybe it's like if it's a trusted friend, this is what I'm going through, that sort of thing. So I definitely feel I've been able to grow in that area, and then through my faith as well, being able to confide in other people, I feel like that's helped me out a lot. So.
You said like growing up, like your family was very emotionally unavailable. The way they handled like say like something like difficult happened with the family, or even as simple as like a loss in the family or something. Do you feel like your family ever spoke about like how difficult it was, or were hard events kind of like the emotional aspect of it kind of just like brushed under the rug and people move forward?
I wouldn't say it's brushed under the rug. It's more so like this is the reality of things, and now it's like the cost to persevere through that. If that makes sense. Because I know, like, a big reason why everybody has been emotionally unavailable is because of traumatic events. And so in that still, like, I do see a lot of emotion shown, like, by my mom, for example. Because me being like the youngest in the family, I've always been like very close to my mom, like spending the most time with her. And so, I mean, she's somebody who's been through a lot. So there have been moments where she tells me, "Oh, I'm sad about this. Ever since that happened, ever since that happened." And so it's kind of like when you bottle something up and like just bursts out of nowhere. And I feel that's kind of what it takes for us to actually have these conversations. Yeah, I mean, in my culture, it's like shaman doesn't really exist, because even with like my mom, for example, her life growing up, her dad, my grandpa, is very like machista. And machista, essentially what that means is like very patriarch. I don't know how to say it, like patriarchal.
Like an authority figure?
Yeah, like men kind of being the authority in like society, that sort of thing. And with that being the case, like when it comes to your wife, they don't have a say. When it comes to your children, they don't have a say. So what's something that's very like common in my culture is that if it is that You know, for example, if I say that, oh, mom, like, I'm depressed or mom, I'm anxious, I don't say that it's like my mom specifically, but what is like the general response among Mexican parents is, oh, well, you know, like, you're just making that up. Look how hard my life is. You don't see me complaining. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because like, in my culture, there's a lot of sacrifice. You know, a lot of sacrifice that people make, a lot of sacrifice that, you know, people have to go through to, you know, have the opportunities to be here in the United States. And so because of that, all these things that they go through is like an excuse to not be traumatized, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you feel like your perspective on mental health is based off that or deviates from that?
I wouldn't say so, because I know that that has been something that is popularly practiced, but I wouldn't say I have that general ideology. You know, I'm someone who I do believe people can be traumatized. Like, I know a lot of people who have been traumatized by different things, and so when it comes to that, like I like to be there for people. You know, it's like if it's them confiding in me, me confiding in them. So I wouldn't say so.
So as in like you share, wait, sorry, just to clarify, you share or you don't share?
I don't share.
Okay.
Something that comes to mind right now is like my mom, my uncles. They'd always say like, "Oh, try your best in school so you don't have to like end up like us." Because you know my uncles, majority of them are like field workers or they're like truckers. You know, so it's a lot of physical, like hard physical labor, a lot of not being with your families. Even my mom, her job is super hard because she's a caregiver for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. So it's like it's a big toll on her, like physically, emotionally, all that stuff. And so with her, like I said, well, I touched on it briefly, but she's someone who's like gone through a lot of suffering throughout her life, you know. And so I feel like one of the reasons why I used to in the first place because like my mom, she'd always like ingrain that in me, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, try your best in school. Like, look at my life, look at what I've been through. Like, I don't want you to end up like me, sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, kind of like I said earlier, I was through like my experiences growing up that kind of led me to be a very independent person, and even say like I can still have those independent tendencies, you know. And so, I mean, yeah, like I go through something and like it can seem very minimal in my eyes, so it's like, oh, like why even talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
Or if like, because I guess in my own mindset is it has to be like something super crazy enough for me to talk about it, you know? Like if it's something small, then like, I can deal with it by myself, you know? And so I guess I kind of like exercise silence in that sense. So yeah, it's my short answer.